Finally.
Yes.
So, what language would you be comfortable in? I just wanted you to be comfortable. Thank you very much for speaking to us on TV. Mainly, I'd like you to probably just take a reflection about what's happened, and I'd like to talk about this new movement and the way forward for it. So maybe for starters, you were disqualified from the process that we've just completed now, the election process. I'd like to hear your own take on that in terms of being disqualified. Did you feel satisfied that you did not satisfy what it took to be able to be candidate for president?
I was unfairly disqualified. I was disqualified on baseless grounds, fabricated lies. I had satisfied all the requirements. I submitted all that was required of me. I actually exceeded. I exceeded what was required of me. The number of signatures required was 600. I submitted over 1,100. So I almost doubled that number.
And was that from each district? Because the condition of the commission was that at least you had to have 30 from the 30 districts. Was that the case?
Yes, it was. That was the case. I went to all districts. I had over 20 signatures from every district, sometimes over 50. In some districts we had hundreds of signatures. And despite the fact that I did submit, I fulfilled all the requirements, I was still denied my right to campaign. I was not on the finalists or candidates. And the reason I was not on the list was because simply the ruling party, RPF, did not want to compete with me. They know how much support I have within the country. They know I speak the truth, and they do not want for the truth to come out, because this system, I've said it before, is built on a lie, and they simply do not want to be exposed.
So an election would be the best way to sort of gauge the kind of support that you have across the country. You never had that opportunity to sort of go and compete in that way. How do you judge the fact that you say, you're very popular, they know that you are loved across the country? How do you gauge that minus an election that would have allowed you to do that?
Well, we went all over the country while we were looking for signatures. So people did hear my message, and not just us going around, but even through newspapers and radio stations. So they knew what my message was. Of course, I would have loved to campaign like everybody else, for my message to get even more heard, I guess. But I was not allowed to do so because the National Electoral Commission did not let me compete.
Right.
Yes, and I do not blame the National Electoral Commission. They are not an independent institution. Like any other branch of the government, they execute RPF's orders. So
you think they were just operating under that? Now, with the election time, we've just had the elections, people got out and voted. Did you actually vote? Probably that would be important to know. Did you bother to even go out and vote, or since you thought you were not qualified, you couldn't even vote for any others?
No, I did not vote because I do not believe in these elections. I do not think they were free, fair, not transparent. The outcome of this election had been decided a long time ago. So this was just a waste of time and money, money that could have helped the Rwandan people, money that could have alleviate or help the Rwandan people in the struggle, in the poverty. I don't know if I'm expressing.
But someone might just say you are saying that because you are not allowed to be on the list. If you are allowed to be on the list, then it would have been money well spent. What would you say to them?
It's
a feeling of bitterness that you have, not having participated.
No. The reason why I'm saying this is because the message that Rwandan people needed to hear was not transmitted. So it was what happened in these elections. It was just a repetition of what RPF has been saying in the last 23 years. Promises without deliverance. And the reason why I don't think these elections were not free and fair and transparent is because the National Electoral Commission has no capacity to organize free and fair elections, because, like I said before, they are just a tool of RPF. They just do what RPF asks them to do. They're not impartial, they're not independent.
So what's your message now? I mean, let's look at the way forward. You are disqualified, but again, suddenly we end up with the People's Salvation Movement, PSM Itabaza. Tell me about it. I mean, where do we go from here now that the political space now has sort of been reopened, given the fact that the elections are over? Where do you go next now?
Well, the day I was supposed to start campaigning was the day I launched my movement. It's called the People's Salvation Movement, like you just said. Itabaza in Kinyarwanda, which means, as you can see,
it's light.
Yes. Yeah, because we live in dark times and there needs to be light, and light also shows the way. So mainly that's what Itabaza means in Kinyarwanda. And what we are doing with this movement is calling on to Rwandans to not fear, because there's so much fear in this country, fear of the ruling party. So we're calling on to Rwandans to not fear, but stand up, speak up, and strive for our rights, because we believe this is the time for change, because our country cannot things have to change. Yeah.
Now, if the process was made very difficult for you, even when you're trying to register, to stand as a candidate, how easy do you think now the movement will be able to operate under the very same system that you say is so close? The fact that we can come probably and speak to you now takes a bit of courage on your part, if that's what you're saying, that's the situation. But the fact that we have not been arrested, you have not been arrested, and for us stopped to come here, probably someone would claim that is freedom as it can go, Rwandan style.
No, there's no freedom in this country. There is, there's no freedom, and starting with let me, in my case, for example, the day I announced my intention to run was May 3rd. Less than 48 hours later, nude photoshopped pictures of myself were all over internet. That shows you how you are treated in this country if you dare to take a stand and speak out. After that, during the collection of signatures, the people working with me went through so much harassment. They went through jail time. Some of them were beaten up. One of them is right there. I can show you the pictures, what happened to him. Some of them lost their jobs. Some of them are being told to write statements accusing me of certain crimes. And others were told that after the elections, they would be accused of working with terrorist organizations. They'll be accused of throwing grenades. So, no, you cannot tell me that there's freedom in this country.
Now, you've touched on the images that spread out all over social media. Those pictures, did they actually make you stronger? Did they make you lose your strength in any way? To tell me that moment that you saw those pictures, actually the first time that they started spreading, how did that go? What was your first reaction? Did you think, I knew it was coming, I knew it was just a question of time? Or how did you react to that?
The way I reacted to that was, I was not that shocked, or I was not that surprised, because I know how the system works. They will stop at nothing to harass you if you dare to take a stand. And it showed me how much our country needs new blood, because as things stand now, we have politicians who do not understand the idea of a political debate, and who instead resort to those cheap tactics. So it was done. It was done to silence me and discourage me. But to be honest with you, it did give me more strength to keep going.
Now, what's the way forward going now from here? Because part of what I realized following the campaigns in Rwanda was the fact that issue of funding, issue of financing was a big issue for the candidates that were even trying to, compete with the ruling party. People like Maimana, people like Frank Habineza, they were struggling. Frank Habineza had to put his house, apparently, to the money lenders for him to be able to get money to be able to campaign. How are you going to be able to run this movement? How well funded are you to be able to run this movement around this time?
Well, I have been saving money all these years. This is not something I woke up and decided to do. I've been planning it for a long time, and I have enough money on the side for me to be able to run this movement. That will not be a problem.
Now, is it a registered political party in any way? Because then probably you might need to go through the formalities, because otherwise then you end up being, it could be called anything. It could be a terrorist organization because it's operating illegally. Have you gone through the procedures of probably registering it as a political party, looking to 2024 probably?
It's not a political party. It's a movement, and in this country, what needs to be registered is a political party. But there's nothing in the forms I read or paperwork I read that requires this sort of association to be registered.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's a movement, is it a political movement? Is it a social movement? Is it an economic movement? Because there probably that's where someone might just come in with the legalese that might end up, trapping you into a situation of sorts. Have you probably thought about any kind of registration that would give it credence and therefore give you a platform where you can operate?
Well, that's a good question. It's all three. It's an economic movement, it's a political movement, it's a social movement, because it does tackle all the issues in this country. And we have not only political issues, but also economic and social issues. So it is all those three. And if they show me anywhere where it says that you need to register a movement, I will do so. But so far I haven't seen anything of that sort.
Let's talk about just my final question might be that someone might come to you with the feeling that, for example, you have a personal vendetta with the government, with the current system, not necessarily over what they've failed to do, but where you have thought probably, because the feeling has been that you have a personal vendetta about the death of your father, which remains a mystery to your family up to now, from what I've gathered. Would you say that you have a personal vendetta, or how do you explain to someone, to a stranger like me, who is hearing lots in terms of you have a personal vendetta, as opposed to what is not happening in the country?
It's not a mystery to us what happened to my father. He was killed, he was assassinated, and we have all the proofs. We brought an open letter to the government asking for an investigation. And so it's not a mystery, we know what happened.
So it was not an accident?
No, it's not an accident, no. My mother and my sister were there, they saw everything. That's the answer to your part one question. And to those who say that I mean kind of for revenge, because I've heard that too, I I personally do not believe in human revenge. That is God's job. It's not mine, and he will do so when the time is right. So no, I'm not in this for revenge, because I do not believe in revenge. And my father is one of many people who has been, he's just one of the victims of this regime. So yes, I mean this for him and everybody else who has been wronged by RPF.